What's going on, good fans? Today's the day I finally reviewed The Last Jedi. I gotta tell you guys, I've seen that movie about 3 times. The first 2 times I saw it at the midnight premiere, and I saw it at the 11 o'clock premiere the next day. I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. So, I think I'm gonna try a new formula. I'm gonna go through the plot and just point out what I liked, what I didn't like, all that fun stuff, and then I'll do kind of a review right at the end. And I'm also gonna try to, give you my ideas for the next trilogy that's coming out now that Rian Johnson is helming the new trilogy. And I thought that'd be pretty fun. Alright, so it started with the Resistance base evacuating because the First Order found them. And it literally starts, I think, hours after maybe hours after the Force Awakens ends. And the opening scene was great. I really enjoyed how Poe Dameron kind of gave the First Order the business. It was just him in the X-Wing, and all he's doing is like trash talking Hux. And then he gets in and starts destroying the turrets. And then he does an awesome drift move like he's in Fast 3 and swings around the TIE fighters that are chasing him and takes them all down. That was probably one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen with an X-Wing in my life. That was just awesome. That was awesome. And then, so after that, they were able to escape in the frigates. I guess the cruiser, I don't know what it's called, but I know it's called the Raddus. After the fish person that was like Admiral Akbar in Rogue One. I know it's called the Raddus. I'm not sure the exact name of it. I think it's a Corellian cruiser, and the 2 little support ships are over there. And it's basically a game of they're basically getting chased by the First Order throughout the galaxy, and they know they have a limited amount of fuel. So Poe decides to send Rose and Finn and BB-8 on a mission to go get a massive code breaker and try to have the First Order not track them through light speed. Just gonna say this right now. I thought that whole thing was pointless. Completely and totally pointless. It ends up not working out. I'm gonna say it right now. I hate Finn, and don't say it's because he's black. Not that. It's because he's such a joyless character. All the character progression that he got from Force Awakens to from Force Awakens is completely and totally gone. First thing he tries to do is he tries to abandon Poe. He tries to abandon the Resistance. Not only that, but this is getting into it a little bit more. I'm sorry I have to go on a rant because that was my least favorite part about the movie. Doing a freaking horse chase with Rose. He's basically holding on to Rose. I mean, you're holding on to a female. Just be happy for the moment. And he's basically saying, stop having fun. Stop having fun. Excuse my language, but who the fuck are you, Finn? What the fuck, man? Stop. Just stop. No. He's such a joyless character. And, like, it's weird that the weirdest possible thing made him be like, oh, yeah, fuck, F the First Order and all that stuff. All it was him seeing a guy threaten to slap a kid, which wasn't the First Order. It was a guy out on the planet, and them whipping horses. And that spun him into a huge spiral that made him go, you know what, I'm gonna die for the Resistance. When less than 16 hours ago you were gonna less than 16 hours ago you're gonna desert. Finn is just a pointless character, and they should have killed him off in this, and that's how they should have stopped the mini Death Star doorbuster. I'm sorry I went on that rant. I really don't like Finn. Just period, end of story. I like Rose, I don't like Finn. And I said the same thing in The Force Awakens. Now if you want to bring Mace Windu back and have him like an old man beard, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I gotta say, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But, back to the story. One thing that I liked is they always did great transitions to the actual characters. Like, so when Finn woke up, first thing he asked Poe is, where's Rey? Then it cuts to her on the island. I gotta say there was a couple things wrong with the island, as in like she wasn't in the same spot, stuff like that. Nah. I enjoyed that, and I was hoping for something more epic with Luke, you know, him saying something. I agree with Mark, you know, instead of tossing a lightsaber. I agree with Mark Hamill when he said, this isn't the way I thought I'd like Luke to go. This isn't Luke Skywalker, or I think he said, that's not my Luke Skywalker. Personally, I agree. Think about it. He went from a dude trying to turn his father, who slaughtered younglings, slaughtered Nemodians, slaughtered everybody, slaughtered his friends, trying to kill his own master slash brother, as in like they were brothers. And he was supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them. Ugh. So he tried to turn that monster, that villain, and he just gives up on Ben Solo. That is something stupid that I never thought would have happened at all. The fact that he gave up. I understand that half of his, I guess a handful of his students went with Kylo, Ben, the other half got killed. I get that. I completely do. But that shouldn't make him give up hope. I just want him to fight more. You know, General Skywalker, the guy who turned the most evil person in the galaxy besides Palpatine. I don't know. But I digress. Another thing, okay, so on to it. She tries to get him to train him. He basically goes, he's like, go away, I'm going to my room, I'm gonna be, you know, edgelord Max over here. And Chewie kicks down the door. And then it's just, then she's like, where's Han? And it switches to the only thing left of Han, which is Kylo Ren. And honestly, I kind of was hoping that we'd get like a monologue with Chewie and Luke, like, you know, what? That he got killed by his own son? Jesus Christ, you know? I would love to see Mark Hamill, because he gave an A-grade performance in this movie. You know, even though he didn't like the progression of this movie, and the route that his character was going, he still acted the hell out of it, because he knows how much, I'm pretty sure, well, it's a paycheck, and he knows how much we care about it. And yeah, so then it transitions to Kylo. He's back in the mask once again. You know, Darth Vader's #1 fan, and he goes to talk to Snoke. And Snoke is in a Hugh Hefner looking gold robe, looking like, you know, he's about ready for a sexy party. And he's talking to him, he goes, well, I thought that you could be the next Darth Vader, but you got owned by a girl who's never trained with a lightsaber before. And you kind of see a really good shot of the new Imperial Guards, I guess just First Order Guards, where he stands up and he kind of like, Kylo stands up and kind of like thrusts his chest at him, not like actually hitting them or anything like that, but he just, you know, like, I'm putting my foot down kind of thing. And then Snoke does the coolest thing where he kind of moves his hand like a downward position, and Force lightning came out of the ground. I thought that was really cool, and it showed how strong he was with the Force. Which, you know, we didn't know much about Snoke in that movie, in Force Awakens. All we knew is he was a dude, his face was messed up, and that's about it, and he wore a gray robe. Besides that, nothing. And this one we just saw. His hand down, Force lightning came out of the floor. Like it was nothing. And on top of that, we see the First Order Guards, they go right into position like, oh yeah, we gotta defend him. Which, me personally, that completely discorded them, disqualified them from being the rest of the Knights of Ren. Because the Knights of Ren, as in the first one, Snoke stated that you are the leader of the Knights of Ren. If he's the leader of the Knights of Ren, there's no way that those people are the Knights of Ren, because he leads them. I was hoping we'd learn a little bit more about the Knights of Ren in this movie. But we did. There's a lot of questions they left unanswered. So basically, you know, he goes and chastises them, and he says, one of my favorite lines was, take that mask off. You look ridiculous. Like, it was his thing, Kylo's idea about wearing the mask. Like, that'd be like me showing up to my office in like full camo uniform with a freaking Darth Vader mask or a mask. And everyone's like, what the hell are you doing, Goodman? What? Take that shit off. And they just, you know, I'd stand there at attention getting roasted by everybody and getting yelled at for being out of uniform. It's just a weird, I guess it shows that he's really weird and he's a little bit too much of a Darth Vader fanboy. I enjoyed that a lot, actually. I laughed all 3 times I was in the movie. Okay, then so after that he stormed out in a huge fit of rage, saying, "Get my ship," and all that fun stuff. So he goes and we see Snoke's ship pull up on the last of the Resistance. You know what? I'm not calling them the Resistance. The Rebel cruisers, because they're the rebels, not the Resistance. Same but different. So we see them pull up on them. Kylo gets in his little, I think it's called the Silencer, which is really sleek design for a ship. I like it. And we see him just destroying the hangar and all that fun stuff. And then eventually they're going for the bridge, and he senses him and Leia have a moment through their bridge in his cockpit. And he's about to fire him, and like, oh my god, is he gonna kill Leia too? And he took his fingers off the blaster, and then the two wingmen came and just blew up the thing. And then we all thought Leia was gonna die, which would have been a pretty cool way to out Leia. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. But instead, it turns out she was like Space Ghost. And it was funny, the second time I watched that movie, the first thing that came to my head was "Ground Control to Major Tom" while she's like flying through space. That song, Space Oddity, I thought that was hilarious. I hope someone does a meme of that where she's like floating through space, going back to the door, and that's what happens, and that song's playing in the background. If one of my followers know how to do that, I'd greatly appreciate it, and I'd definitely give it a shout out and like do everything I can to like have everyone see it, because everyone needs to see it. Okay, sorry, let's continue. So she's in space. She is in space, and then she flies back. And then we kind of go see through Luke's day. We kind of see Luke's day and Luke's daily routine, you know, milking sea cows or whatever the hell those things were, and Rey following him around and him spearing a fish and her pissing off the locals. And eventually he agrees to train them. And they did a really cool thing with Rey and Ben Solo in this movie, which I enjoy, which was the Force Link. I thought that was a really cool I thought that was a really cool idea. And it was a great way to kind of have some character development for Kylo, besides having his own scenes where he's, you know, hitting a lightsaber across a control panel and destroying stuff that the First Order might use. Because, you know, that's always fun, and if I ever get into a rage fit, I might do that one day. Just hit a freaking wall with like a stick or something like that. Because, you know, that's the most healthy way to... It's the most healthy way to solve your problems and make you feel better. But, so eventually she trains him. See, well, he trains her. Well, gives her 2 lessons. We never got the 3rd one. But there was one phrase that he said in, there was one phrase that he said to Rey when he asked her about the Force. She's like, oh, it's the thing that makes you picks up rocks and stuff. And he goes, amazing. Everything in that sentence that you just said is wrong. I've used that line about 4 times in my office. Where someone came to me, he's like, hey man, I got this and this and this, I need you to process it today. I'm like, so is everything correct on here? He goes, yes. I'm like, amazing. Everything you said in that sentence is wrong. And I gave him a little smirk. And he wasn't too happy, especially because he's a higher rank, but I mean, Star Wars is Star Wars, and if you don't get the Star Wars reference, you need to get your ass in the movie theater. Excuse my language. So, you know, she starts feeling out with the Force, and she reaches out. Luke tells Rey to reach out with the Force, and she literally reaches out, and he has like a little feather. He starts tickling it, and she's like, oh my god, it's the Force. He's like, oh, you must be really strong with it. And she slaps him in the head. He slaps her hand. That was pretty funny. The humor actually flowed in this movie. I liked a lot. That's one thing I liked, where Force Awakens, the humor didn't flow as good. The little humor that they had in there. And eventually she reaches out, and it shows that she goes for the darkness. You know, she sees everything. She actually kind of gets more of an understanding for the Force. And then after she goes for the dark, Luke said, I've only seen this raw power one other place, and that was with Kylo Ren or Ben Solo. And one thing I like is he quotes he quotes the prequels, man. He says that's how Palpatine basically built the Empire through the Republic and took over. And that was awesome. I love that they're actually referencing back to the prequels. Just because I'm a fan of the prequels. They ain't better than the originals. But you gotta admit, Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan, still my favorite character of all time in Star Wars. Because who doesn't want the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie to happen? Everybody. And if you don't, go away. Then switching to the Canto Bight where they're at the casino. I personally thought that scene was pointless just for the fact that only thing it was a Benicio del Toro cameo. And he kind of sees that, and Finn kind of sees that there are some things on there. There are some things that look different from a different perspective. How they saw the horses whipping, horses getting whipped, the kids getting smacked, all that fun stuff. And I thought that was I thought it'd be a lot better if it wasn't the horses whipping. It was freaking pod races, and instead of getting chased by little weird giant horse things, they get chased through by pods. Could you imagine that? Like Rose is sitting in the back gunning, and Finn is like steering the pod, and we have like a high-speed chase where they're on the ground, they're diverting from the little ships. That would have been so much cooler. So, and it'd be in the callback to the prequels. And then we could have some ham-fisted line where they're like, "Oh wow, though this is pod racing." No, don't. No, never mind. I'm sorry, that was bad. But so eventually Benicio del Toro and BB-8 rescue them when they go steal a ship. And that ship was a really sleek design. I actually enjoyed it. But and that's when Finn learns that the weapons dealers that were there didn't just deal with the First Order. They dealt, and Canto Bight didn't deal just to the First Order. They dealt to the rebels as well. It just shows that money's money. And then it cuts back to whoever. At this point, Admiral Holt, they've already lost 2 of the Resistance support ships, the only ones they had. And Poe's trying to figure out what's going on. Admiral Holdo was on the ship. She was the same person who played Ellie Sattler in Jurassic Park. Good performance. But she was basically not giving Finn the plan, and he tried to mutinize the ship. And he tries to be captain. So they definitely made her out to look like a villain, like a traitor. And I enjoyed that, that they kind of subverted our expectations. We didn't really know what was going to happen. Where it turned out she was a good guy at the end. But let's jump back to the Force Link, where Rey and Kylo are talking, and they finally figure out the origin story, where Luke, being the go-getter that he is, tries to strike down, in a moment of weakness, he tries to strike down his own nephew, and he realizes that it's just a scared boy, and he could have saved him. But now, at this point, he can't save him. It's already past that. That's what he's saying. And Rey says, if we go to him, we can bring him. We can bring him back from the light. And he doesn't believe it. So Rey and they have a little skirmish. I wish it wasn't with lightsabers, because that was awesome. Another cool thing, little factoid. 2 artifacts were in Luke Skywalker's little hut. First, a red kyber crystal, which is Darth Vader's kyber crystal. Just awesome. I'd love to see like Rey go. I'll save that. And the second one was the compass. I don't know what the compass is for. I'm pretty sure it would define this island. But that was in one of General Palpatine's stashes that was talked more about in Battlefront 2. But if I was a bet man, I'd say it was to get to that island. To find the first Jedi Temple. So Rey and Chewie take off to go back to the Resistance with a couple porgs along the way. I'm just gonna say this. There was a scene in there where Chewie was sitting down to a fire about to eat a porg, and there's porg staring at him. And then he yells, and there's one right there. I think he should have just taken a bite out of the porg and then like chewed it in front of him, swirled it, and then yelled at him just so they could see that he will eat them. That would have been funnier, but I know they wouldn't have done that. But oh my god, I missed it. Apologize. So the reason why Luke taught Rey was he went back to the ship. And you could tell it was like the first time he was back on the ship in years. And you could just see the happiness in his face. Well, not the happiness, but you could see he's remembering everything from his past. And then we see R2, him reunite with R2, which is really nice. And then he's, you know, he's trying to talk R2's trying to talk Luke into getting him to train Rey. So he plays the original "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope" to Luke, the original hologram, which was awesome. It was a great callback, especially because he's Obi-Wan-esque right now. He's a hermit, but he's not, even though he's not willing to train another young Jedi, which would have been awesome. But yeah, that's why she trained him. So they leave, and she gets in that little coffin thing. I don't know what it was. It kind of looked like the pod, like a really scary escape pod that I would not want to be in. Period. End of story. And he gets taken to the ship, to Snoke's ship. There to pick her up are 2 stormtroopers and Kylo. So they're waiting in the elevator, and all I felt was straight sexual tension in that scene. Like I was expecting them to, like, the elevator to open up and they were gonna be mid-coitus. That's just me. But so, and then we truly see how strong Snoke is in the Force, where he's like saying, "Oh, young Rey." He takes the lightsaber, and then he, you know, she says they're talking. And he's like, "Come closer," and without moving his hands, he basically used his mind, or maybe he did a little hand gesture we didn't see, but she froze up and got closer to him. We also saw when she tried to pull the lightsaber towards her, it went around, hit her in the back of the head, and back to Snoke. That means she can overpower Rey. And that was great. So eventually, he tortured her into getting the information about the rebels, and at this point, Finn, Benicio del Toro's character with the stutter, and Rose and BB-8 are on the ship. We don't really need to worry about them because there's nothing important there till later on. So they basically he tells Kylo to strike her down. Snoke tells Kylo to strike Rey down. And he's reading his mind, and he did a thing where he played his mind, where it made it seem like he's going to strike down his true enemy, which is Rey, but it's really Snoke. And you hear the Skywalker lightsaber ignite and just cut him in half. It was metal. And then he force pushes it back, and Rey grabs it. And then they have a thing with the Imperial Guards, which I understand it's subbing as a lightsaber battle. Man, it was a really cool scene. Seeing that they, you know, it was an actual match for them, and it was weird seeing that it was weird seeing them tag team, and at that point you're like, "Oh, awesome! We're gonna see this team up." In episode 9, there's gonna be a bigger villain, or Snoke's gonna come back, or something. But at the end of the fight, she's like, "Oh, listen, we can stop the attack. We can save the resistance." And he goes, "Well, why do we need to save them? Come on, just let everything go. Come on, the Jedi, the Sith, come on, let it go." And the face Daisy Ridley made, she goes, "Please, Ben, don't do this." Ooh, I hit it. That hit the heart right there. That hit